Friends, it's a pleasure to introduce our Chintakara Chavadi, a association initiated by Professor C.K. Revakarya. We meet once in a month and discuss various problems with regard to the economic aspects. This time, on 5th of April 2026, we met at Professor ᶠᶗᵃⁿᵜ house to discuss about the recommendations of 16th Finance Commission led by ﷺ. Finance Commission is the committee which is going to recommend the devolution of funds to the state governments. Devolution of funds means here, after deducting the expenditure, whatever the amount that has been given by the state governments in the form of taxes and other things to the central government, there will be redistribution of the funds to the different states by the central government with the recommendations of the Finance Commission. This time it is the 16th Finance Commission for the period 2026 to 2031 recommended both the horizontal and vertical devolution of funds. The devolution of funds depends upon various aspects like demographic aspects. Earlier it was on the geographical area. Now it is the performance of the states with regard to the contribution to the GDP. And apart from this, the performance of the states, it also takes into consideration the various aspects like the fiscal deficits. So likewise, various aspects are included in the devolution of funds towards the states with the recommendation of Finance Commission. Here is the discussion which we had. For your preview, please go through and give your opinion. Thank you very much. The main speaker of the present discussion is Professor ᶠᶗᵃⁿᵜ sir, who is an expert on public finance.
Chavadi on 16th Finance Commission. He is a renowned public finance expert and he was one of the tax reforms committee member when I was in the department. In fact, I presented before him regarding the departmental statistics and our views also. He is a finance expert. In our Chintakara Chavadi, he is a budget specialist and finance commission specialist. Always addresses the issues thoroughly. I request Professor ᶠᶗᵃⁿᵜ to address and to deliver the talk on 16th Finance Commission.
Well, friends, I'm very happy that all of you have responded to our invitation and you are here with us. The topic for discussion today is recommendations of the 16th Finance Commission. The Commission submitted its report somewhere in October or November. And then the report was placed before the Parliament in February. And thereafter, the report became available in the public domain, and the subject is being discussed all over in recent days. Well, this is one of the important issues in India's federal system. And before coming actually to the recommendations of the 16th Finance Commission, we spend just a few minutes drawing our attention to the India's federalism, the problems of federalism, and then the solutions to the problems that are available. Very briefly, I will touch upon that. Well, you know that India's federal system has a very long history. Its genesis can be traced back to the Government of India Act 1999, under the British rule, when the jurisdictions of the central government, tax jurisdictions of the central government and the provincial governments were all listed out according to the Act. That was the beginning. But it was not a perfect federal system. And actually, there was no transfer of resources from the center to the provinces in those days. In fact, the provinces had to pay the center. But later, under the British, under the Government of India Act 1935, a decision was taken to transfer resources from the center to the states, that is, the proceeds of the income tax. So that was the real beginning of India's federal system. And in any case, before independence, there was only a rudimentary form of federalism, and federalism took a concrete shape only after the Constitution of India was enacted. The Constitution of India described India as a union of states, and the word federalism has not been used in the Constitution at all, but it is in essence a federation now consisting of the central government, the state governments and the local bodies. After the 73rd and 74th Amendment, local bodies got constitutional status, and we have three-tier system: center, the states, and the local bodies. Now, in any federal state, federal country, there are certain problems. Most important of them is imbalance between the center and the states on the one hand, and in the imbalance between one state and another state, and imbalance among states. This kind of problem of imbalance is present in almost every federation, and solution has to be found for this kind of a situation. And for this, we have fiscal devices, federal fiscal devices, to tackle these problems of imbalance, vertical imbalance and horizontal imbalance. The solutions are in the form of, number one, assigning the tax jurisdictions. Now, in our federal system, the jurisdiction is central government and the state governments is all well defined. Certain taxes belong to the domain of the center, and certain taxes belong to the domain of the states. But the problem is that more productive taxes are in the central list, and less productive taxes are in the state list. While the center gets more revenue, states have more spending responsibilities. That's how there is imbalance. Defining the jurisdictions of different taxes is one device, but that by itself will not solve the problem. The tax proceeds have to be shared with the lower tiers of government. I told you earlier, center has more productive sources of revenue, states have less productive sources of revenue. There is imbalance, and this needs to be corrected through transfers from the center to the states. Now, this has to be done in a very fair manner, transparent manner, in a very judicious manner, and for this purpose, Constitution has made provision for appointment of a Finance Commission every 5 years. The Finance Commission gives its recommendations. On that basis, the central government makes transfer of resources from the center to the states. Now, we are very much concerned with this question of tax sharing, transfer of resources from the center to the states. The President of India has given terms of reference to the 16th Finance Commission, and according to this terms of reference, the 16th Finance Commission was required to recommend how vertical transfer should take place, how horizontal transfer should take place, and how resources should be transferred to the local bodies through the state government. That is, what measures are required to augment the consolidated fund of the state so that it may transfer resources to the local bodies. That's one. And then the terms of reference also required the Commission to look into financial management in the case of disaster management, in case of disasters. So these are the four sets of areas in which the 16th Finance Commission was required to make its recommendations. Apart from some general issues like sustainability, that subsidies question, and working of public enterprises. These are some general issues about which also the Commission has looked into and given recommendations. Now what I am going to do is, I will draw your attention only to issues related to sharing of taxes, transfers through sharing taxes, and then transfers through grants in aid to states. I will not touch local bodies and disaster management because that requires a lot of time. In a short talk like this, it's not possible to cover all those things. Therefore, I will confine myself only to vertical sharing
And horizontal
sharing, and grants in aid to states. Now, coming to vertical sharing, there are two concerns with vertical sharing. One is to decide about the pool. What is the divisible pool? Divisible pool is the amount that is actually available for transfer to the states. The entire gross tax revenue is not available for transfer to states. Cost of collection has to be deducted from it, and then cesses and surcharges have to be deducted. The remaining constitutes the divisible pool, and transfer has to take place from that. Now there are some issues regarding this. That is, the exclusion. Exclusion of cost of collection is okay, that's no problem, that's acceptable. But the exclusion of
Cess and surcharges.
cesses and surcharges, is it justifiable? Is it all right? Now states say that this is not correct because by excluding cesses and surcharges, the size of the divisible pool is reduced. Now in recent years, Government of India is collecting a lot of revenue through cesses and surcharges. It amounts to about 14 to 16% of gross tax revenue, which is not available for transfer to the states. So the divisible pool is reduced and we are getting less transfers because of this reason. That is the objection of the states. But the view of the Government of India and also that of Finance Commission is that according to constitutional provision, these items are excluded. On constitutional provision, they are not shareable. Therefore, the Commission can't do anything about it.
Right from beginning it is so, sir.
Unless it is.
Right from beginning. Right from beginning it is so. As per Article 280 of the Constitution. It is so only. Right from.
Rate.
ಅದು ಹಿಂದೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರಲ್ವ ಸರ್ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ.
This union government in recent times has more and more on cesses and surcharges. That has become a handicap to these. They are demanding that it should be included, but it has not been possible to do that. That is one. About the composition of the 80th Amendment to the Constitution, the proceeds of all taxes levied and collected by the central government are shareable. Earlier, only in personal income tax, not even corporate income tax, only personal income tax and union excise duties were shareable with the states. There was demand that other tax also be brought under divisible pool. There was demand since a long time, and finally through the 80th Amendment of 2000, all the central taxes were made shareable, and with the result the divisible pool became bigger, and the state governments could get more funds transferred in their favor. That's one important change. So, out of this amount, what should be the share of the states as a whole? That's an important question to be decided by the Finance Commission. Now, the Finance Commission makes a detailed study of the finances of the union government and finances of the states, examines the capability or the capacity of the union government to transfer resources, to what extent it can do it, its capability, and then the state's requirements, and taking the two together, the commission has to balance. And when for the first time the proceeds of all the taxes were made shareable, the 11th Finance Commission decided that 29.5% of the divisible pool should be shared with the states. 29.5%. Now this has gone on increasing commission after commission. 12th Finance Commission increased it to 30.5%. 13th Finance Commission increased it to 32%. And 14th Finance Commission increased it to 42%. From 32% to 42%. The 16th Finance Commission has continued the same share that was decided by the 15th Finance Commission.
41%.
51 it was
41%.
Sir, on what basis this percentage
It is retained.
42% to 41% decline from 14 to 15 was because of Jammu and Kashmir becoming central union territory. Because of that reason, it was reduced from 42% to 41%, and the 16th Finance Commission has retained the same thing. Now again, this is a debatable question. States' demand has been that there should be at least 50% transfer. And particularly when the cesses and surcharges are not shareable, this percentage should have been more than that. If not 45%, at least 42% or 43% should have been.
Also the implementation of GST, it should also be taken.
Yeah.
Other taxes
States have been demanding, but that state has not.
No, this is only about vertical
met.
devolution.
The Finance Commission decided that 41% is appropriate given the financial conditions of the center and the conditions of the states. the argument is that centre's demand has been, centre's expenditure has been rising, particularly expenditure on defense is going up. And another point is that the money collected through cesses and surcharges, where are those funds being spent? The Government of India says that cesses are for specific purposes, education cess, health cess. And if you take the case of education cess, it is spent on Samagra Shikshana, education in states. And then it is
Health.
Spent on Poshan program. And cess on infrastructure is spent on maintenance and construction of roads in the states. Therefore, the amount goes to the states. What are we doing with that money? And therefore, the state's complaint is not justifiable. So that is the recommendation of the 16th Finance Commission with regard to vertical transfer, vertical sharing. Now I come to horizontal sharing. Now this has become really very controversial in recent times. States have lots of complaints. Why? Because the share that goes to the relatively backward states has been more than the share that goes to the advanced states. Well, this has been there since a very long time. Starting from the first Finance Commission, it has been there, but it has increased over the time. And you know what agitation Karnataka made about this. My tax, my right. Agitation.
Tamil Nadu is also very.
Right from reading this UN prize there, sir.
Yeah.
Tamil
Not
Nadu
only
is also
know.
there.
Right from
And
reading.
also other advanced states joined and they went on agitation and tried to implement and also tried to impress the 16th Finance Commission. There has been injustice to states because they are not getting from the center commensurate with what they contribute to the central kitty. Siddaramaiah has been telling
Efficiency.
for every 1 rupee we contribute to the center, we are
13
getting only 13 to 15 paise.
13%.
And this kind of a thing is echoed by other states, Tamil Nadu,
Telangana,
Kerala,
Andhra,
Andhra
Maharashtra.
Pradesh, Maharashtra.
These are the 5 major states.
They have all been complaining that this is not correct. There is very big injustice to the advanced states. Now, why is this happening? Basically, there are two principles of federal finance. One is equity and the other is efficiency. Now, equity principle requires, obviously, that there should be more transfers in favor of less advanced states.
Less developed states.
Less developed states to satisfy the equity principle. Now, this equity principle has been stressed right from the beginning, but from the 7th Finance Commission onwards, there has been an increase in the importance given to the equity principle. And as a result, the backward states have been getting a higher share than the advanced states. Now, if you go by the argument, my tax, my right, then what criterion should be employed for transferring resources? Contribution to
GDP.
How much tax is paid by Karnataka, for instance? how much is paid by Kerala or Tamil Nadu or how much is paid. Our contribution should be the basis for
Devaluation.
deciding the transfer.
Yeah.
This is the demand of these states. Now about this criterion, I have some interesting things to tell you.
Weightage is less.
In fact, the first Finance Commission adopted the contribution criterion. It adopted two criteria, one population and the other
Geographical.
contribution. Population with 90% weight and contribution with 20% weight. But the first Finance Commission had some reservations about this, but still it did not reject it. Income creation are far more diversified and widely spread over the country than the facts of collection would seem to suggest. The bases are widely distributed. That means, supposing you take the example of, say, a state like Karnataka, where income is generated through various activities, and from that income tax is paid. That is the contribution. Now, the point is, the income generated in Karnataka cannot be solely attributed to Karnataka, because, as pointed out here, the bases are more diversified, spread over the country than the facts suggest. It is, yes, it is true that tax is paid on the income accrued in Karnataka, but this activity will have made use of inputs produced elsewhere. And also, this income is generated by selling the products produced here in different parts of the country. Therefore, how can you attribute the income only to Karnataka? Diversified sources are there, and therefore it may not be correct to attribute this income to income and contribution to any state in particular. This is the argument about which First Finance Commission itself was aware of, but it did not reject this criterion and gave 20% weightage. Then, when the sixth Finance Commission was appointed, Raj Krishna, a well-known and very controversial economist, who talked about Hindu growth rate.
3%.
Hindu growth rate. He opposed this criterion, contribution criterion. And then in the seventh Finance Commission, C.H. Hanumantrao, he also opposed the use of contribution as one of the criteria for transfer. And then, but still it was continued up to ninth Finance Commission. And when the 10th was appointed, and for giving up this, the commission gave this explanation. The generation of income, especially non-agriculture income, is a spatially interdependent activity. It's a spatially interdependent activity. The linkages run through the input side, as I told you earlier. It's from input side as well as the demand side. An output being produced in a specific place may be using inputs produced in various other locations. The income generated from the sale of this output also depends on the income of consumers who may be spatially dispersed throughout the country. The country as a whole represents a common economic space and market and growing interdependence in economic activities has considerably weakened the case for locally originating incomes in the non-agricultural sector, whereas therefore persuaded there is no need to retain contribution as a criterion of distribution. There is no need to continue contribution. Is the justification for the demand that contribution should be one of the criteria. I contribute 1 rupee, but you give only 13 paise. You should give in relation to my contribution. So that argument appears to be no longer valid as it has been tested and discarded.
10% of the GDP, they say.
GSDP ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ವೆಯ್ಟೇಜ್ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದು 5-6 ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್, ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್, ಡೆಮೋಗ್ರಫಿಕ್ ಡಿವಿಡೆಂಡ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕೊನೆಗೆ GSDP ಇದೆ. ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಎಫರ್ಟ್ ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. This 16th Finance Commission has dropped the parameter tax efforts.
Yeah.
It has dropped the tax effort. Instead of it, they have adopted GSDP.
I will come to that.
Yes, sir. That's what I said.
I will come to that.
Yes, sir.
So, 16th Finance Commission obviously could not take up this point. But the 16th Finance Commission felt the need for giving a little more importance to the efficiency criterion. And the demand of the advanced states had to be met in some other way. And therefore, now before that, let me introduce to the transfer of resources. What criteria have been employed, and particularly this criterion of income distance, which was adopted, I think, for the first time by the 8th Finance Commission. Up to 8th Finance Commission, there were only 2 criteria: contribution and population. Population varied from 80 to 90, and contribution varied from 10 to 20. 8th Finance Commission introduced multiple criteria, and the criterion of distance, per capita distance. What is this criterion? This criterion means that a state's distance in per capita income from the highest per capita income state. So, highest per capita income is taken into account at one time, and the per capita income of a state is taken into account. What is the distance between the two? Higher the distance,
Lower the
more the transfer. If a state's distance, per capita distance, is very far from the highest per capita income, highest per capita state, then that state must get higher transfer. Now, obviously, backward states like Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Bihar, their per capita income being much lower than the per capita income of developed states, well, they get more transfer. So, introduction of this income distance factor was responsible for the increase in the difference in the share between the advanced states and the backward states. That's one thing. And then, yes, that was the major reason. Now, let us see how this distance factor has been employed. Finance Commission 11 went to the extent of assigning weight of 62.5% to income distance criterion. 62.5%. So obviously the backward economies got higher share because of this. Then the subsequent finance commissions of course reduced this. 12th reduced it to 50, 13th reduced to 47.5, and 14th again increased it to 50. 15th commission reduced it to 45%, and 16th finance commission has further reduced it to 42.5%. This is how 16th finance commission has tried to accommodate the arguments of advanced states. The weightage given to the income distance factor has been reduced slightly from 45% to 42.5%. And in addition to that, 16th Finance Commission, as pointed out by Mr. Putraju, has introduced a new criterion, that is fiscal, that is contribution, GDP. Contribution of the state, Karnataka's contribution, for instance, to the GDP of the country. What is its contribution? What percentage does it constitute? That is one criterion, and this helps advanced states in getting a little more transfer. Now this may even include the contribution factor and other efficiency factors, and thus the Finance Commission, 16th Finance Commission pointed out that there cannot be a major shift. If we make a big shift, there will be reaction to that. So we must make a beginning. Let us make a beginning by slightly giving greater importance to the efficiency principle, and thereby meet the demands of the advanced societies, advanced states. Now, by reducing the weightage given to income distance factor and also to demographic performance and area. In the case of demographic distance, it was reduced from 12.5 to 10, and in the case of area, it was reduced from 15 to 10, and by reducing these items, 10% weightage
For GDP.
has been given to
GDP.
contribution to GDP. And this takes care of the efficiency principle to some extent. It's not very high. Commission says that, as I pointed out earlier, there cannot be a sudden shift. You must make a beginning, at least make a beginning, and therefore what has happened to the distribution pattern now? The advanced states has marginally decreased, and the share of the advanced states has marginally increased. Bihar, for instance, reduced from 10.06 to 9.95. Bihar.
From 3.36.
Rajasthan 6.03 to 5.93. UP, very small decrease, 17.94 to 17.62. And West Bengal 7.52 to 7.22. Small decrease. Now earlier from commission to commission there used to be increase. Now there is small decrease. Now similarly, if you take the advanced states, Karnataka's share increased from 3.65 to 4.13. And Kerala's share increased from 1.93 to 2.38. Tamil Nadu, very small increase, 4.08 to 4.10, and AP 4.05 to 4.22. Thus, according to the award of the 16th Finance Commission, there is a slight improvement in the transfer of resources from the center to the states. It has marginally decreased in the case of the backward states, and it has marginally increased in the case of the advanced states. The Commission states, our recommendation on vertical devolution reflects continuity. It's continued, 41% is continued. Whereas that on horizontal devolution rewards states for their contribution to growth for the first time. Horizontal devolution rewards states for their contribution to growth for the first time. So this is the welcome change that we find according to the recommendation of the 16th Finance Commission.
This is GDP,
So I have briefly
not GST.
on vertical
State income ಬೇರೆ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ.
GSDP.
Sorry, is it GDP or GSDP?
ಯಾವುದು
ಈ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ ನೀವು 10% ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ,
ಹಾ.
ಅದು GDP ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ GSDP ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್?
contribution to GDP,
Not GST.
GSDP contribution to
One and the same, sir.
GSDP contribution.
GSDP, ಎಲ್ಲ GSDP ಸೇರಿದ್ರೆ GDP ಆಗುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ? All states put together of GSDP.
ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಶೇರ್ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅದು.
ಶೇರ್ ಗೀರಿದೆ GSDP ಅಷ್ಟೇ. GSDP is what?
ಟೋಟಲ್
Total. Primary, tertiary, secondary. All three put together is GSDP.
So,
Vertical
tax sharing, vertical and horizontal. Coming to grants in aid, all the previous finance commissions have recommended grants in aid to the states. There are three types of grants recommended by finance commissions. One is revenue gap grants. The second is sector specific grants. And the third is state specific grants. These types of grants have been recommended by all the finance commissions from 1st to 14th. But the 16th Finance Commission has not recommended any of these grants. And this is for the first time that this has happened. Now, taking first the revenue gap grants, what is this revenue gap grants? If there is a gap or there is a revenue deficit even after devolution, that the finance recommendation of grants, only states which have revenue deficit get it, not the others. This is only to make good the problem of revenue deficit. If a state incurs revenue deficit even after devolution, it is entitled to get grants from the union government. This is the revenue gap grants or revenue deficit grants, which has been recommended by all the finance commissions from 1st to 15th. Now, this grant has been not given by the 16th Finance Commission. What's the reason that it has given? The reason it has given is that several states received grants from the center in the form of revenue gap grants. But have they reduced their deficits? No, they have not reduced their deficits. And then this revenue gap grants is in a way an encouragement,
In fiscal indiscipline.
an incentive.
Fiscal indiscipline, sir.
Yeah.
Encourages fiscal indiscipline.
It's not, there should be a disincentive, not an incentive. Now this is acts as an incentive to the states not to take interest in reducing deficits, because if there is a gap, the country is there to fill that gap. So there is adverse incentive. Instead of incentivizing the states to reduce or eliminate deficit, it encourages states to continue their practice of incurring revenue deficit. Therefore, this should be stopped. So for the first time, revenue gap grants have been
Removed.
stopped by the Finance Commission. Then the two other grants, state-specific and sector-specific grants. These grants have also not been recommended by the 16th Finance Commission. The reason given is that in recent years, the union government is simply not releasing these grants. Simply not releasing. Karnataka is complaining.
Share Karnataka, share is
Commission announced that such and such a grant would be given to Karnataka state, but
Not given.
they have stopped releasing it. So when they don't release, why should we recommend it? So for these reasons, the 16th Finance Commission stopped grants in aid at all.
They
And this is-
normalized the fault of the union. Finance Commission normalized the fault of the union. They normalized the fault of the union.
Regularized.
Anyway, for the first time this has
Sector
happened.
and state specific grants has to be given, but they normalized it on the ground. It is not being given. That means normalizing the fault of the union.
So there might be some duplication because sector-wise grant includes education. Both center and state take for that. That's why.
Yes, sir, these are I wanted to
Yes, sir.
Sir,
share with you.
another criteria is about the states spending for these freebies. Free ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. For them, whether they are going to reduce any grants due to that.
ಇಲ್ಲ.
The one criteria they are
ಏನು
already.
ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಏನು ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ.
That will not come under
Stopping-
evolution of resource.
Stopping of revenue gap grants helps it.
ಏನು
So, by
ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ.
resorting to
ಫ್ರೀ ಬೀಸ್ಗೆ ನೀವೇನು ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಡಿ.
too many freebies, states were encouraged to incur revenue deficit.
No, whatever the grants they got it.
That will not come
ಅಲ್ಲ,
under
ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ.
centrally
ಫ್ರೀ
sponsored
ಬರಲ್ಲ.
scheme.
ಅದು ಬರಲ್ಲ.
ಈ
ಅದು
non-tax
ಸೆಕ್ಟಾರ್ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್
revenue.
ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತನಪ್ಪ, ನಿನಗೆ ರೋಡ್ ಈ ಥರದ್ದು
This should
ಸೆಕ್ಟಾರ್
also act as a
ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್.
disincentive.
ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಇಟ್ಟಿದೆ ನಕ್ಸಲೈಟ್ ಅಫೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫಿಕ್. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಜಾರ್ಖಂಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಛತ್ತೀಸ್ಗಢ ದೇ ಗೆಟ್ ಮೋರ್ ಫಂಡ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಕ್ಸಲೈಟ್ ಅಫೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಒನ್. ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಕ್ರೈಟೀರಿಯಾಸ್. ನಕ್ಸಲೈಟ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ.
They raise fund ಅಂತಲ್ಲ, loan raise ಮಾಡಿ they try
So
to
major criticisms are number one,
Yes, sir.
there is stagnation in vertical.
Yes.
So state share is only 41%, though the demand has been to the tune of 50%. Please reflect on the comments that are being made on this. Do you think personally that the percentage should increase from 41% to say further 45% like that?
If not
Because-
45%, it should increase to 43% also.
That's your
It should
opinion.
increase, that's my
Okay.
view.
So the second criticism is changes in horizontal devolution formula itself. Okay, it has reduced weightage for income distance, which weakens the argument of equity. By and large,
No,
that's the
does
comment
not-
that's being made.
But see, equity principle and efficiency principle should be balanced. Both are equally important. But now what has happened is that there is greater importance given to equity principle, and therefore it should be reduced. Otherwise, backward states continue to get higher share and advanced states continue to get lesser share. This cannot go on forever. Advanced states cannot subsidize backward states continuously. At some point, you must break it. Therefore, it is justified.
Okay. And the third one is, why are you penalizing the states which have put in lots of efforts towards population control?
No, that factor has been taken into account.
Now, what is your personal opinion about this?
Sir,
No,
population
no,
percent
should
ಅದಕ್ಕೂ
not be
criteria ಇದೆ,
penalized.
factor ಇದೆ.
It should not be penalized. And for that purpose, now from 14th Finance Commission onwards, there have been attempts to take care of this issue. Now earlier, only 1971 population was taken into account, and that was changed to
2011.
2011.
11.
And then I will tell you,
Ministry is denying the fund to Karnataka government.
ಯಾವ ಫಂಡ್?
ಯಾವ ಫಂಡ್?
ಯಾವ ಫಂಡ್? ಯಾವುದರಿಂದ ಬರೋ ಫಂಡ್?
Many there are for
ಅದು centralized sponsored scheme
state
ಅದು.
government.
They are not giving any.
Grant ಅದು
ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೂ ಇಲ್ಲ.
That answer I want.
Why not 10%? See, these are all ad hoc and arbitrary figures. ಆಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ.
Notably, in some cases,
This one is wrong because, for example, GST is destination based. If the goods are sent to the Uttar Pradesh, the Uttar Pradesh government gets the tax because here we don't get any tax at all for the state government. So it is destination based taxation system which has been introduced. Origin principle is not there, sir. It is destination based. Once it is destination based, consumption of that state is taken into the criteria. It is consumed. You see, indirect taxes are all consumption taxes in whatever name we call, whether it's GST or
the
something.
point here is about the generation of it.
Yes, sir.
Generation. ಈಗ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ there is an industry, there is some activity from which income is generated and on that income tax is paid.
ಅದು ತಪ್ಪಿದೆ ಸರ್.
Now,
ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ
this
ಬಾಂಬೆನಲ್ಲಿ
income
ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್
generation-
ಆಫೀಸು ಬಾಂಬೆಲಿದೆ. ದೊಡ್ಡ ಅತಿ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಇರೋದು ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಬಾಂಬೆಲಿದೆ. ಮುಂಬೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಆಫೀಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಮುಂಬೈ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಕಟ್ತಾರೆ. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಸೆಕ್ಟರ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಟೇಕಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಆಫೀಸ್ಗಳು HAL, BEL ಎಲ್ಲ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಕಟ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಅದನ್ನೇ ತಗೊಳಕ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಕ್ರೈಟೀರಿಯಾ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಆಫೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಪೇ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಹೊರತು ಈಗ ಬಾಂಬೆಲಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್ ಮುಂಬೈಯಿಂದ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಬ್ರಾಂಚ್ ಇದ್ರೂ ಸಹ ಈಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಇನ್ಫೋಸಿಸ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಪೇಡ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಕಾರ್ಪೊರೇಟ್ ಆಫೀಸ್. Even though the Infosys functions in Orissa, Maharashtra, Mumbai, everywhere it functions, but corporate income tax is paid by whom? By the Bangalore office. Therefore, the income generated cannot be taken as a sole criteria.
Right.
It cannot be taken as a sole criteria. Whereas in case of consumption tax, in case of indirect taxes, it is purely consumption tax, sir. Where actually the consumption takes place, there only the revenue that state government is. That has not been balanced, sir. Because, sir, excise duty was previously, wherever the factories were producing the goods, excise duty was levied in that state. Now it is not so. With the introduction of the GST, there is no longer the excise duty is there. Only with the exception of some goods, there is no excise duty at all. So in IGST is there, SGST is there, CGST is there. Now IGST, when it is there, then the formula has to be applied, sir, properly. In case of consumption tax, been done either two. Central excise ಇಲ್ವಲ್ಲ ಸರ್.
ಇದನ್ನ
ಸಬ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. GST ಜೊತೆ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಸೋಪ್ ಮ್ಯಾನುಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಚರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಹಿಂದೂಸ್ತಾನ್ ಲಿವರ್ ಅವರು, ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಎಕ್ಸೈಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ದ ಬದಲಾಗಿ CGST ಬೀಳ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ CGST ಬಿದ್ದದ್ದು ಸೆಂಟ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, SGST ಬಿದ್ದದ್ದು ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಗೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ನೀವು ಸಪೋಸ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ತೆಗೆದು ಸೋಪ್ಸ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀರಲ್ವಾ, IGST ಬರ್ತದೆ.
It all depends upon the geographical distribution of industries.
ಇಲ್ಲ, IGST ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸರ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ನಿಮ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ಷನ್ ಇರೋದು ನೀವು ಏನೇ ಇರಲಿ ಸರ್, ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ಷನ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಮಾತ್ರ ತಾನೇ ಸರ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ SGST, CGST ಪೋರ್ಷನ್ ಸೆಂಟ್ರ್, GST ಪೋರ್ಷನ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ನೀವು ಎಂತೇ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಈಗ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಏರೋಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ರು ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಲೇವಿ ಇಂಟಿಗ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಗುಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕ್ತೀರಾ ನೀವು. ಅದೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ, ಡೆಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಆ ಪೂಲ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಬೀಳ್ತದೆ ಹೊರತು ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಪೂಲ್ ಬೀಳಲ್ಲ.
ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದಿ
ಡೆಸ್ಟಿನೇಷನ್ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್, ಅದೇ ಡೆಸ್ಟಿನೇಷನ್ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ನೀವು ಈಕ್ವಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ನ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರಲ್ವಾ ಸರ್, ಈ ಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತಡಿಯಪ್ಪ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೀವು ಮುಂಬೈ ಮಹಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀರಾ, ಈ ಲೆನ್ಸ್ಗೆ IGST ಲೇವಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇಂಟಿಗ್ರೇಟೆಡ್ ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ SGST ಅಂಡ್ CGST ಬೋತ್ ಪುಟ್ ಟುಗೆದರ್. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಆ ಪೂಲ್ಗೆ IGST ನಮ್ಮಿಂದ 18% ಹಾಕಿದ್ರು ಸಹ ಈ ಲೆನ್ಸ್ಗೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ 18% ಸ್ಟೇಟಿಗೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಸರ್, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಒಂದು ಮಿನಿಟ್ ಸರ್, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಂಬೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋದಾಗ 18% ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಪೂಲ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಪೂಲ್ ತಗೋತದೆ. ತಾನು ತಗೊಂಡಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವನಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಂಡ ಅದು ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ಷನ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ಅವ್ನು ಯಾರು ತಗೋತಾನೆ ಪ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸರು 18% ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ರೇಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತಿರೋದೇನು, ಡೆಸ್ಟಿನೇಷನ್ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ಷನ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿಯಾದ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಜಾಸ್ತಿಯಾದ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಆರಿಜಿನ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ.
ಸರಿ, ಕನ್ಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ ಇರೋ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಸ್ ಯಾವುದು?
ನೀವು ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಗೂಡ್ಸ್ ಟೈಪ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ.
ಅಗ್ರಿಗೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಹಿಂಗೆ
ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಸರ್, ಅದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ, ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಅದು ಯಾರು ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಅಟ್ ಆಲ್ ರಿಲೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ 12 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಸೆಂಟ್ರಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ವೈ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾಲೋ ದ ಪಾರ್ಲಿಮೆಂಟರಿ ಡಿಬೇಟ್ಸ್, ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಬಿದ್ದಿರ್ತಾವಲ್ಲ, ಅನ್ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್, ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಬಿದ್ದಾಗ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಹೇಳಿ ವಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದ ಡೇಟಾ, ವಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದ ಡೇಟಾ, ವಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ದ ಡೇಟಾ ಅಂತ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಇದೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನು, ಡೇಟಾ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಿರೋದು ತಪ್ಪಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಡೇಟಾ ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆದದನ್ನು ಡೈವರ್ಜ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೂ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಎರಡೂ ಇದೆ. ಸಿ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ದ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಈಸ್ ರಾಂಗ್, ದಿಸ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ ಈಸ್ ರೈಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಇದು ಮಿಸ್ಚಿವಸ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್.
ಡು ಯು ಫೀಲ್ ದಟ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ is affected?
ಹೌದು ಸರ್, ಖಂಡಿತ.
What advantage we may reap in case your theory holds good?
ಈಗ ಥಿಯರಿ ಒಂದರ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸರ್, ಈಗ ಡೆಸ್ಟಿನೇಷನ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಪೂಲ್ನ GST ಪೂಲ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಆ ಪರ್ಸೆಂಟೇಜ್ ಮೇಲೆನೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ 10% ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಆಯ್ತು ಸರ್. ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿವಿಡೆಂಡ್ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇಷ್ಟಿಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡು. ಆದರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಬರ್ತದೆ ಅದು ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಅದನ್ನೇನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಅವ್ರು ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ಷನ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತಾರೆ, ಅದರಿಂದ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ವೇಟೇಜ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬೀಳ್ತದೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಅದನ್ನ ನೀವು ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಸರ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಒಂದು ಮಿಡಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಕಂಡುಹಿಡಿಯಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ನೀತಿ ಆಯೋಗ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಅಂಡ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಾಗಲ್ಲ ಸರ್. ಆದ್ರೆ
it relates to the ಬಾರೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಫ್ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಬಾರೋಯಿಂಗ್ ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಸರ್ ಇವಾಗ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಹೌ ಮಚ್ ಇಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಬಾರೋ. ಇವಾಗ one state may end up in very huge debts and they may say that all the people have to bear this debt. So now what reference has been made in the Finance Commission regarding this? What's the limit that has been put for off-budget borrowing?
So Finance Commission, particularly the 16th Finance Commission, has not touched that question at all.
How much a state can borrow?
It is left to the state. The center
limit ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ.
ಅದು ಫಿಸ್ಕಲ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ ಶಾಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ 4% ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ GSDP. 3% ದಾಟಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, 3% ಇನ GSDP ದಾಟಂಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಓನ್ಲಿ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಫಿಸ್ಕಲ್ ಡೆಫಿಸಿಟ್ ಸರ್. ಬಾರೋಯಿಂಗ್
limit, it is limited to 25% of the
state revenue,
state GSDP. It's limited to 25%. It should not exceed 25% of the GSDP.
Sir, Speaker asked about justification of giving more funds. More highly populated the states is the
ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಿದಾರಲ್ಪ, ಈ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ ನಾನು, ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ಇದು ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲೇಷನ್ ಮತ್ತೆ
ಡೆಮೋಕ್ರಸಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಬಾರೋಯಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಬಾರೋಯಿಂಗ್ಸ್ Actually, it's not included in
In the finance commission.
in the
ಬಜೆಟ್ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಲ್ಲ.
no, borrowing only. The deficit, fiscal deficit only, it's not included, it's not taken into account. The commission has pointed out that of budget borrowings should also be included in the deficit, fiscal deficit.
ಅದನ್ನು ಸೇರಿಸಿ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಡಿಫಿಸಿಟ್ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
ಸೇರಿಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ಬಟ್ ಅವರು ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಬಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೆ ಸರ್.
They are showing a lower amount of borrowing.
ಸರ್ ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಅದ್ರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಫಿಸಿಕಲ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅವರು ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ, ಇವರು ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ, ಇಬ್ರದ್ದು ಅದೇ ತರ.
ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಸರ್,
ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಫ್ರೀ ಬೀಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಫ್ರೀ ಬೀಸ್ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ತೆಗೆಯೋದು.
ಫ್ರೀ ಬೀಸ್ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ ಬಜೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಇರೋದು. ಸಾರಿ,
ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ.
all the finance commission recommendations throughout straight from 1 to 16.
ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್?
In your opinion, do you think that the recommendations are fair or they are discriminatory? What do you personally feel about? Because you have thorough knowledge of this.
They are fair by and large.
Yeah,
Fair
fair
by
by
and
and
large.
Yeah,
They are impartial.
ಫೇರ್ ಸರ್,
Fair.
Scientific.
ಇಂಪಾರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಫೇರ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
They are fair
That's
by
it.
and large.
ದೇ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್. 14% ಆಫ್ ದ ಟೋಟಲ್ ರೆವೆನ್ಯೂ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತದೆ.
ಅದನ್ನ
ಆ
ಜಾಸ್ತಿ
ಸೆಸ್ ಏನೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಸಹ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಂಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಕೊಡೋದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ಒಂದು ಪೈಸನೂ ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ. ಅಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ರಿಮೈನಿಂಗ್ 5% ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ. 19% ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟು. ಈಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಪೆಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಸೆಸ್ ಹಾಕ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್. ಆ ಪೆಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮೇನ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಏನೇ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಸೆಸ್ ಬೀಳುತ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್, ಮಾರಾಟ ಮಾಡೋದು ಇಂಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಎಲ್ಲದ್ರ ಮೇಲೂ ಬೀಳ್ತದೆ. ಅದ್ರ ಬಂದ ಸೆಸ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ಇಟ್ ಗೆಟ್ಸ್ ಇಂಟು ಕಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ದ ಯೂನಿಯನ್. ಮೊದಲೇನಿತ್ತು, ಈ ಕೆಲವನ್ನ ಬಂದಾಗ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಪೂಲ್ ಫಂಡಿಗೆ ಸೇರ್ಬೇಕಿತ್ತು ಈ ಸೆಸ್. ಆಯಿಲ್ ಪೂಲ್ ಫಂಡಿಗೆ ಸೆಸ್ ಸೇರಿದ್ರೆ ಆಗ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಪೂಲ್ ಫಂಡ್ ಇಂದ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಿತ್ತು, ಸಬ್ಸಿಡೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಿತ್ತು. ಈಗ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಯೂನಿಯನ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಪ್ಲಾನ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈಗ ಆನರಬಲ್ ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಸೇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಲೆಫ್ಟ್ ಟು ದ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಕಂಪನೀಸ್ ಟು ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ದ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ.
ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಲೆವಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ?
ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ.
ಏನ್ ಲೆವಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ?
ಸೇಲ್ಸ್ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಒಂದೇ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಅದನ್ನೇ ಹಾಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ.
ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು.
ಅದೇನು ಇದು ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವ 1915 ಇಸ್ವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಪೆಟ್ರೋಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಡೀಸೆಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಹಾಕ್ತಿವಿ, ಅನಂತರ ವಾರ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಜಗಳ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರು. ತೆಗಿಲಿಲ್ಲ. 1919 ಆದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತು ಇದು ಒಂದು ಮೇಜರ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ರೆವಿನ್ಯೂ ಅಂತ. ಸೇಲ್ಸ್ ಕ್ರೂಡ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಟ್ರು. ಈಗ ಅದು ಮೊದಲಿತ್ತು, ಈಗೆಲ್ಲ ಕ್ರೂಡ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ ಇದೆ. ಈಗಲೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, ಕ್ರೂಡ್ ಆಯಿಲ್ ತರಿಸ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ಬಂದಾಗ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೀಳ್ತದೆ. ಈಗೆಲ್ಲ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಿದಾರಲ್ವಾ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಎಲ್ಲ. ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಲೇವೀಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸೈಸ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಸರ್ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹಾಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ.
ಡೆವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ದಟ್ಸ್ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಅಸ್. ಅದು ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಇವರೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಬಹುಶಃ
ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಫೇರ್ ಅಂತ
ಫೇರ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್.
ಸರ್ ಮಾತಾಡೋದು ಇಸ್ ಅನ್ ಆರ್ಟ್, ಅದರಿಂದ ನೀವು ಮಾತಾಡಿ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್.
Sir, on behalf of all the Chavadi
ವಿಷಯ
members,
ಗೊತ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ.
we are very grateful for giving.
ಸರ್ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್, ವೋಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್.
On behalf of all the Chavadi members, we are very grateful to you for having provided the food for mine and very good homely food for our body also.
Made us to meet you.
Yes, sir. That's very, very important.
We are
Thank you
grateful
very
to
much,
you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
ಅವ್ರು ನೋಡೋದಾಗಾಯ್ತು.
ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಬಹಳ ಇತ್ತು.
ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನೆಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
Excellent in all respects.
ಒಳ್ಳೇದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ.
And today's discussion was really very good.
Hey,
Yes.
Went well, sir. Last time also you spoke in ᶠᶗᵃ show.